Greetings, nerds. This is Scene Nerd. I'm your host, Sarah Belmont, and with me, as always, is our Mr. Producer, Will Polk. How are you doing tonight, Will?
Doing very well, Sarah. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing fine. I mean,
That's
it's
that's good.
Wednesday, and I'm
Yeah.
so used to recording on Mondays that I'm
Oh, I
just like,
know.
man, this week is taking forever.
Yep. Yeah. I know. I know. Well, I was traveling some for work, and then we were supposed to record last night, but the jet lag kicked my ass. So here we are Wednesday night.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Here we are. And
Yeah.
before we got onto the show, I will freely admit I clicked on um unknowingly clicked on September 15th rundown that we did like a month ago,
Yeah. Yeah.
thinking like not even registered. And then I went to a different tab on my browser. And then when I returned, I like read the start. I'm like, we're not talking about Dune 2. So I was like, I'm in the wrong rundown. I'm in the wrong
uh,
rundown.
Wrong
Yeah.
rundown. Rundown. Yeah.
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 Yeah. No, we're not. We're wrapping up Peacemaker and then we're continuing on the Gen V road. And then next week we get to start Severance. So
Yes.
season
Yes.
2. Okay,
Season 2.
everybody? And
Yep.
nobody say you have to watch season 1. We have watched season 1. We just never talked about it in depth.
Exactly. Exactly.
And we also watched it like, well, I watched it maybe 2, 3 years ago. So there's also
Yeah. Yeah, there's that little thing too. Yeah, I am planning on doing a rewatch this week just to refresh my memory because it's been a minute. So,
yeah, yeah.
uh,
I
yeah,
I am not planning on. I am
yeah,
planning on them doing previously on and then being like, cool. Okay. I because I don't know. I mean, it takes so long for shows to get produced
yeah,
that I kind of feel like, I'd rather go into the new season however long of a time in between and just call it good. I mean, this season only just premiered back in January of this year. So
yeah, yeah.
it would have been very similar had I just watched it in January. So,
True,
but
true.
anyway, Peacemaker, the season finale slash probably series finale. It's still a bit murky, but for all gun and purposes, it's the series finale. Um, season 2, episode 8, Full Nelson. As Flag puts everyone around him in increasing danger, the 11th Street kids must convince Peacemaker that he's one of them. Okay, Will, what do you think about this finale?
So, my overall thoughts on the finale. I know there's been a lot of discussion about it and all that, but personally, I will say my real time reaction when I was watching it was I was for the first bit of it, I was like, huh. And then And then whenever they got to the big moment in the hotel room, that was when I was like, okay, I was like better. And then by the end with it all, I was just like, when it finished, I kind of sat with it for a minute, and I was like, you know what? I was okay with it. I really was. And 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 maybe this is just part of the benefit of just sort of like not being like so on social media as much as I used to, and hearing like how James, because I think people were expecting the big reveals and I know apparently I guess Gunn must have hyped it up on threads or whatever, but
Mhm.
I
Right.
was I wasn't like going I didn't really go into it like expecting anything like Superman showing up or anything like that. I was sort of like, okay, this episode in many ways felt like an epilogue.
Yeah. I I really hate this episode. And maybe hate's a strong word. I don't like it. I don't like this
Yeah.
season in general. So and I'm not on the side of like, well, you told me Superman was gonna show up. We all know that when you say like you're not really online to theory spiral about that, we all know that I am like 25 degrees removed from that. So
Yeah.
I'm not writing this is how it should have done. I just like, and I think you knew while watching it, Sarah's not going to like this because
I did. I
many
did.
montages there are. I checked
Yep.
out so
Yep.
hard by the second montage.
Yeah.
And oh my God, why the song choices weren't even good, in my opinion. I'm not, and I understand that like it's all taste and preference.
Mhm.
That is not my preferred sound. So I I mean, and this is an hour, okay? And we talked about this and I've mentioned it how a lot of these episodes this season I'm just like they're going so quickly and and in a way I was like I wanted more. Well, now I'm glad he didn't give me more
That
because
yeah.
he would have just had a montage added on to every single episode. It would have made me like it less. My last point is something that from the Ringerverse Van brought up. And when I heard him say this, I was like, man, I wish that you didn't, because this is exactly why I have an issue with montages. He said it,
Mm.
he articulated it so well. It's because when you insert a montage, it's basically a reliance on that to kind of move things along when
Mhm.
and kind of distract the viewer from the fact that you don't got a lot more story to tell,
Mm.
which
Mm.
is sad because having gone through now 2 seasons, 16 episodes with these characters are really rich. And you're
Yeah.
telling me you couldn't tell like say more, but I could go on. I have a few more other like nitpicks and just overall annoyance, but
Mm.
those were like my top big thoughts of just yeah, the moment the first montage happened so early in the episode, I was like, "Oh God."
So, well, let's break down some parts of the episode. I mean, yeah, there's the montages. For me, of course we do get the flashback, and we get the moment on the boat finally. We've been dancing around the boat all season. Chris wants to talk about the boat, what happened on the boat, and so we finally do. In typical James Gunn fashion, we do get we get the flashback to start off the episode.
Well, this
So
season, that's what they've been doing. That's the gimmick. But not every episode
yeah,
has started with a flashback.
no, all but what, maybe one or two?
2. I think
Yeah,
2. I think the
yeah,
the 2 episodes that don't start are when we're predominantly in World Z.
yeah,
And
yeah,
and I don't and I swear James Gunn has even said that on his podcast about the show that every
yeah.
episode starts with flashback. I'm like, no, it
Well,
doesn't.
I think all but maybe one because even they did
I
have
know
the one.
for yeah, but even saying all but
Yeah,
one, he didn't say all but one. He said all.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
just
yeah,
like I know for sure there's one. There could be 2.
yeah.
But yeah, anyway, so like the
Anyway,
flashback
yeah,
that
yeah, because
the
yeah,
flashback that we knew we were gonna get from the very first episode that
yeah,
completely let me down, but you continue.
yeah, yeah. So it played out differently than how anticipated. So I guess that's the thing. Maybe that's why people are having maybe that just set the tone for why so many people did not like the episode because we've heard so much about this moment and that when it does finally play out, it's like I don't know what everybody had their own fan theory as far as like what happened and maybe then that it was just basically just a moment there between the two of them
So
with Chris awkwardly singing and her just basically like shutting down and basically reacting the way that we see her throughout this season whenever they bring up the moment, and just generally around Chris. Maybe that's where it started. It went off the rails from the get.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, yeah, the whole episode was pretty much off the rails. And even like the opportunities were just missed, in my opinion.
Mm.
And just I'm already checked out, so I'm not going to check back in. If things land flat, I don't. I think that in terms of this flashback, I was thinking about it earlier, and the fact that and I've said this before, I'm a diehard shipper.
Yeah.
So you give me a romance, I go all in. I'm like, and I root for that shit. And I'm like, why don't you give me more of that rather than them punch, punch, boom, boom,
Yeah.
action, action. So this coming from somebody who loves love,
Mhm.
yet
Mhm.
I just was over this whole dynamic. And it goes back to not necessarily how this flashback plays out, but the fact that we've basically in present day have been viewing this flashback throughout the entire season. So by the time they show us a flashback, it's like, yeah. So
Yeah.
why are we like it there was nothing about the flashback
Mhm.
that really like was like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's a conversation that I'm glad we got. It was more like retread. The one piece of information where I was like, huh, can we hear more about that, was when Harcourt was defending
Yeah.
Adrian. That was
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
There was
Yeah.
just a one line about it. It was like questioning Adrian's relationship with Chris, and I was like, why can't we go back to that conversation and just explore that, like them talking about all of the kids and their dynamic. But I just, everything else, it was like I feel like we've heard this conversation multiple times through both perspectives, and to the point, by the time you get the flashback, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. Yeah. I would agree with that. I mean, and like I said, in my opening thoughts, I mean, I was as the the first three quarters or so, yeah, 2/3 of the episode, I would say, yeah, I was wondering where it was going to go, and yeah, and I think I was underwhelmed by the boat, the that the flashback. I was. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and try to pretend that I'm not. I agree with you that his speech, whenever they were talking about his relationship with Adrian, that was um well, that was the one thing that did stand out from it all. And then also just the just the cinematography is, as far as it was just shot really well. I mean, I like the setting and all that. But beyond that, it did. You're right. I mean, I felt like, okay, this should have been like earlier in the season,
Or not at all.
or not at
Like,
all. Yeah, yeah,
I don't think I think that it's more interesting when characters bring up conversations that are not shown on screen.
mm.
For
Hmm. Yeah,
example,
yeah.
my favorite
Well,
show last year was this
yeah.
show called One Day.
Hmm.
Okay?
Yep,
It's
yep.
based off of a book.
Hmm.
In both the book and the show, what I found fascinating is because each episode takes place one day in a year. So each episode, once you've finished the first episode, then it's a year later. The
Yeah,
characters talk about stuff that happened during that year, but we don't flash back to it.
to it. Yeah,
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 it's like this is a lived in world. You don't flash back. So I don't think that, I think at the end of the day, in my opinion, why the flashback didn't work is because we didn't need it.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
there was so much that
yeah.
led up to this relationship. We needed more in the present day to get resolution, and it just it didn't work how I think that it should have,
Yeah.
in
I,
terms
I
of their whole relationship this season.
yeah, you know what? Now that you mention it, I think you're right. I mean, this is one of those instances where telling is actually better than showing, because the
Right?
showing is not would not like ever come close to the expectation that we've gotten built up with the telling that we've seen all season.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
they could have flashed back to, like, so many other more interesting things, especially with Harcourt, and
Hmm.
I think that's another reason why I just did not, at the end of the day, I'm not a fan of this season, nor this finale in particular, is because I have not been on Team Harcourt since the first episode this season.
You
She's
haven't. You
confused me, she's
Yeah.
frustrated me, and every now and then I'm like, "Oh," and then they write her in a way where I'm just like, the inconsistency, in my opinion, or
hmm
the consistency, the point where I'm like, "I get it. Can
Yeah.
we
I think.
explore it a little bit more? Can
Yeah.
we
Yeah. I
do
think.
something else?"
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's the to me it was what I got from you was more you get it,
Yeah.
and it's like, what carry it forward a little bit. And I guess when we went over to the Earth X, it was like, okay, we see, we got a different version of her. It was Chris's ideal, you know, fantasy version of what he would, what he anticipated with having a relationship with Harcourt. But yeah,
Well,
I get your point.
yeah, yeah, and to relate it specifically to this episode, the absence of Chris,
Yes.
um, just led me, I was just like, "Oh my god, this is a Harcourt episode." And then, so when it became clear to me after watching the episode that this was the more of the series finale, it makes me all that more mad. I'm like, this show is called Peacemaker, and
No.
Peacemaker was hardly in the final episode. Like in
Yeah.
present day, what the fuck?
Or Yeah, or it was a soft it was a backdoor
Yes.
pilot for checkmate.
Yeah. Which, okay, the term backdoor pilot, we have seen backdoor pilots. I mean, we come from CW land, okay?
Yeah,
We
yeah,
know what a
yeah.
backdoor. This was not a backdoor pilot, because you're telling me that backdoor pilot is literally basically a montage? No, no, no. The full episode had to be. I get the term, but I think it's being applied a bit loosely. This was more like this was more like we finally realized that we actually have an ensemble, so we
Mhm.
can no longer continue with a show called Peacemaker.
Yeah,
So we're going to pivot into this checkmate show where we can actually revolve around all of the characters a bit more as we conclude his overall arc, and also kind of leave him just like out there in
yeah,
purgatory.
yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, he is in purgatory, he is in salvation, but, I mean, getting back to the point about whether or not it's gonna be a 3rd season or not, I mean, I think you may have hit on something there that
Mhm.
that if this show does continue in whatever format, whether it's animated or live action, um, yeah, I mean, it could be the checkmate show, and if
Which,
somehow Chris does come back, or they may just show up in other properties, just down the line as far as maybe just
yeah,
supporting characters. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, we're gonna eventually see how they're gonna get Peacemaker out. I don't
yeah,
foresee him just indefinitely being stuck there.
yeah.
So they have that tied in. Checkmate, though. I just want to, like, the because I have to, I guess, say, like, a few things I did like.
Okay.
And this is why I'm okay if they wanna go to Checkmate. It's just one scene. It's not the
Yeah.
fucking montage scene. It's the one
Oh.
scene between Flurry and Adrian. Yes. Those 2 should have their own series. Like, yeah, shame on me, because I guess that's the one thing that did surprise me this with this finale, because I had not already like thought to myself what would a conversation between Adrian and Flurry would be,
Sure.
but they
Yeah.
gave it to me, and I was just like,
Yes.
oh my god, what? Where was this all season?
Yes. 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 That was the. I did laugh out loud with that one. I did. And that's where I was like, okay, this is where I had James and maybe suffer through the whole opening theme song for just and and you got me back a little bit with the with that scene with Adrian and Flurry. I will
Yeah.
say that.
Yeah.
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 Which, speaking about the opening montage, how
Yeah.
mad does it make you, the fact that when we talked about the first episode this season, and specifically the montage, and we brought up that alien guy, like
Yes.
that was never
It was never resolved. I
no.
was I was looking. I was like, come on. At least I was hoping he'd show up one more time, even if especially when they were like doing all the, when they were searching
Ugh,
for salvation.
oh, that search. Oh my God.
Yeah. I
I'm
mean, when
kind
they
of
were searching.
glad he didn't show up during that, because that montage was like a nail in the coffin for me in
Well,
particular.
yeah. Well, when they showed up with the little, with the outside, I was expecting him to show up in the imp world and like maybe saving the day or something. Whenever the imps were like taking out the team, and
Mhm,
and Flurry was like getting butt fucked in the face by by the one thing, and the one thing that Flurry did care about, that kid that did get killed by
mhm,
the team. So it was like I it, I saw I did listen to the Ringers comment, and I heard Van's thoughts on the episode. I was like, okay, yeah, I agree with. I'm glad you brought up his point about the montages
mhm.
and the story, because again, I think before I listened to any podcast or anything, I was my that was that was part of my thoughts as well. I mean,
Mhm,
like I said, I was at the end of the day, I was okay with the finale. I mean, I mean, I've seen, for Star Trek fans, um, we're all familiar with the finale for the show Enterprise, and on that show, spoiler alert, if you're a Star Trek fan and you haven't, if you're working your way through Enterprise, there was a series starring Scott Bakula. The finale, spoiler alert, was an episode. It was set in a holodeck, and actually they had Will Riker and Deanna Troi in that episode, and Riker was going through a crisis of confidence or whatever because of a decision that he was having to make, and he was basically like looking at this particular mission of the Enterprise, in his holodeck thing, and to this day I am furious about that finale. So
yeah.
the Peacemaker season finale or series finale is definitely not that. I didn't walk away from this like, damn, I wish I got an hour of my life back, unlike the Enterprise finale.
Right, right. It's all relative. I mean, that's a
Yeah.
strong point. And I I think, and that's why I preface my opinion about this finale as, the things I didn't like about this finale is why I don't really care for the season as a whole.
Hmm. Hmm.
And and I know there are moments. I've talked about a few of them. The other moment, which we have to get into, is
Yeah.
Adebayo.
Oh yeah.
Adebayo's speech. I mean,
Yeah.
hats off to her. It was a
Yeah.
beautiful performance. It was a great
Oh.
speech. Loved it.
Yep.
It
Got a lump in
was
my throat.
stuck. It was stuck in the middle of a pile of shit. That's why it was so jarring for me. I'm like,
Yeah.
I want to be on board with this. And yet, for some reason, I've been so emotionally detached for the last 45 minutes that I'm like, this is good, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it's gonna end
Yeah.
and we're gonna get back. And it really stuck out in
Hmm.
particular because no one else really was saying anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Well,
that's why, and it just, and again, as like I've said, that this season and my issues with this season are kind of summed up in how I feel about this episode. I have been on board with Adebayo this entire
mhm.
season. All of those scenes with her and Chris led up to that moment.
Yep.
Those scenes prior, though, were just her and Chris. I
Yeah.
really wished that that scene had been her and Chris.
Yeah.
There, and maybe to connect it even about her experience in the other world, that
Mhm.
would have been cool.
That would have
But
been totally cool.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, it just it would have given more weight to the fact that we spent so much time there,
Mhm.
and just to also allow, because we got so inundated with Chris's perspective of that
Yeah.
world that it would have been
Mhm.
nice, considering both Judo Master and Adebayo were in that world, to be
Yes.
for her to explain or do something with that. But it's just
Yeah.
like it was so quick. It was like, yeah, okay, we're done.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that point up because, whenever because I know earlier in the season when we talked about when Chris and Adebayo had that heart-to-heart moment
Mhm.
earlier in the season about the
Yep.
grass is always greener,
Right before he
and
goes through. Yep.
right before he goes through. And it would, you're right. That I mean, it was already an Emmy-winning monologue to begin
Mhm.
with, but that would have just taken all of the season to the next level if he had made that tied that full connection, because we talked about that with Chris.
Mhm.
Now, especially, not we that I think it was episode 2 or 3 or 4 when they had that conversation, and then tying it to like the blinders that he had on, like with all the whiteys around, and
Yep.
and then even when Harcourt pointed it out, you're right. I mean, if they had connected the two, that would have just taken the whole thing to the next level. And I think, I mean, I think James got up to the line, but and maybe this is where when you have this gets into a larger philosophical point about having diverse writers' rooms,
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
if you have different voices in the writers' room, maybe a writer of color or a woman or you know gay, lesbian, whoever,
Mhm.
you know, can provide that little extra perspective that you and or even if it was a black writer, having a white person, anybody, having that extra other perspective in the room helps you flesh out the stories. And I
Right.
think and to your point, I think that would have really fleshed out a already well written moment. I mean, I can't deny it. I mean, I got a lump in my throat
Mhm.
whenever she delivered it, because it was very powerful. But it would have taken it to the next level.
Yeah, and I think to that point, just her other storyline with her wife or
Hmm.
girlfriend.
Yeah.
Like, because when we circled back to that in this episode, I
Yeah.
was like, I don't care. I don't care. Like early on, and I mainly say that not because I don't care about Adebayo.
I get
You
what you're
know,
saying. Yeah,
I
I
love
get what
her.
you're saying. Yeah.
It's more about just it's been so long since we've had
Hmm.
a scene between those two that it's like, oh, why are we going back here now? I mean, Chris
Yeah.
is in jail. And that whole absence of Chris in this episode was just felt more when we circled back on these lame storylines, when like we could have had more conversation. I love when she manipulates Adrian,
Oh
just
yeah, that
by
was
being
another
like,
one.
I'm a better friend to
Yeah.
Chris.
Yeah.
Like that was great. And then to everything, what you could have had more conversations between Chris and her about
Hmm.
so much shit.
Yeah.
And even economists, like,
Yeah.
granted, he got a little bit more because Eagly. I mean, we
Yeah.
all love our little animated
Yeah.
animal in any
Yeah,
gun
he
movie
got
or
Eagly, and Steve and AG got to improv
yeah,
a bad joke bit line. Is what
yeah,
whenever we're trying to discover the plans as far as with salvation. But yeah,
right, right.
yeah,
Like it felt like it continues to feel like, okay, James, you set all of this up, but did you not know where you're going, or did you think you knew and then you got distracted by soups? I don't know.
yeah, it's possible. Well, it's interesting too because I know on the podcast he did say that he finished it with the montage, and then Peter Safran was, and again, that's the perspective I was talking about. He did show the script to someone, and he did get feedback to be like, yeah, you need to add something more to it. And I guess that's when he decided to like add the salvation stuff to it, which gets again, it takes the show and just feels it, well, gives it that connective tissue with the larger
Well,
DCU.
I
But
don't know if I misunderstood that, because I understood that like the salvation stuff was there.
yeah,
All he tacked on was just leaving Chris in salvation at the end.
yeah, okay, yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe that was it. Yeah.
Because if he had turned in a script without all that salvation script, then this would have been a 10-minute episode with maybe 30 minutes of
Yeah.
montage. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
That's pretty scary. so so
Yeah. What did
I
you think of? Yeah. What did you think about the salvation stuff? I mean,
I don't care.
yeah.
Like, yeah, I don't give. I just that kind of stuff. I checked completely out of it. I don't care about, like, there are no stakes when people that you just meet in one scene before suddenly die, even though it has an impact on others. Like, and talk about another missed opportunity. Flurry's been around now for a few episodes. And then it still caught me off guard, though, when all of a sudden they're doing checkmate and Flurry shows up. And I'm like, oh, I mean, I get it, but
Yeah.
I feel like that could have been executed more. Judo Master could have been utilized in this episode. He wasn't. And then he was tacked on in at the end as well.
Yeah. So, yeah, well, they were, Judo Master was in there. He was just in the scenes when they were like searching.
Yeah.
He was in the suits,
I
but
had
I
fallen
get your
asleep
point.
by that point. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but I get your point about Flurry. I think there were moments throughout the season, and I know one episode um where I was going to mention Flurry, and we didn't get circled back to it, but whenever Economos booked Chris into the system so that Flag couldn't, basically there will be a record of him being there, so Flag couldn't. I mean, ultimately he did like find a way to get rid of Chris, but at least earlier in the season, he wasn't able to do so. When Flurry acknowledged what John did and said that was a good move there. So I mean, there has been like little moments throughout the season that I think that even though Flurry definitely has its issues, they were building towards that moment. So when he showed up, I was like, okay, yeah. At the end of the day, within his own system, within the system, he was able to like did take it, acknowledge the wrongs that were taking place there. And then of course, whenever the kid that he was like picking on all season gets killed, and you realize like, oh, this is really fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to talk about before we move on to
Uh,
Gen V?
no, I think we covered it all. I mean, as far as Peacemaker, I mean, it was good. Like I said, it was okay. I mean, I've seen worse finales, but I definitely understand why people are upset for a variety of reasons.
All right. So Gen V season 2, episode 6, cooking lessons. Worried about the coming culture war and apocalypse. Ride it out in style and comfort. Sustainable septic systems and feng shui. Blast proof and billionaire approved. The world may be burning, but you'll be 30 feet underground with a glass of 82 Bordeaux. Act now before it's too late. My God. I would have had no, the lovely thing is, if I'd read that like before watching the episode, I would have had no idea. What
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck
I
are they
mean,
talking about? I have
yeah,
no
it's like
idea.
title cooking lessons, and yeah, I was just like, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
because I saw the title before I was able to watch it, and yeah,
Yeah, and so I mean, we kind of touched on it briefly with
yeah.
Peacemaker, and we didn't delve too much into it. The expanded universe.
Yes,
So watching the Peacemaker finale, and
mhm,
more importantly, the fallout given the, well, he told me Soups was going to show up and everything,
yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
So to then watch Gen V, and specifically this episode, which
yeah,
I don't know if their writers' room or their producers had any idea that like this would be a perfect little parallel thing happening. And really shows how good of a
hmm,
show Gen V is
yeah,
Stan Edgar and Zoe show up in this episode. And this is why, and it just, I sat there when they appeared and I was like, this is great.
yep,
I,
yep,
I'm They have managed to do extended universe like no one else.
yep,
Because as a viewer, I am fully aware the boys is shares this universe. Yet I am also not predicting and anticipating when the boys' characters show up. And
nope,
I do not have expectations because the characters of Gen V stand alone.
yep,
So, yet the utilization just amplifies. I mean, we talked about this a little bit last week, like or actually for the past few weeks as we've talked
yeah,
about season 2, because you have to remember the state of the politics surrounding Soups in this world at this time. That school is really a safe place for these particular kids given
hmm,
given their powers and their abilities. So there's a very hard irony there.
yeah,
Um and that's really where the conflict is that like, oh my God. My jail is my home.
hmm,
So but to go back to Stan and Zoe, like, yeah, you could say it's a bit of a cop out because it's like they clearly were outmatched, and then they busted in Zoe and Stan to kind of save the day and give some shelter. But it's also so connected because we've seen Stan since what, season 1 of The Boys, and we
yeah,
know how he operates. We know his relationship with Vought. It's and Newman, the Newman of it all.
yeah,
It just, like, yes, it allowed us to break out of Elmira, but also put us in a different kind of safe place to
hmm,
give everybody a chance to breathe, and then to set us up for like the final 2 episodes of the season. We got 2
yeah,
more, right? One that
yeah,
premiered today and then
yep,
next week. So we still got
yep,
2 more.
yep,
Um, but yeah, like that's what for this episode, that the fact that we have Stan and Zoe show up so seamlessly, that was my biggest takeaway from this episode.
yeah. I'm 100% there with you. Just really you set it up perfectly there, and set it perfectly. This was it was world building, but still they kept things contained in this story because these characters can execute things on their own. Um, and yeah, I mean, with one thing too, as far as like with Stan showing up, and and yes, he at the end of the day he is still trying to he build his way back and take over the company. And yeah, he provided these kids shelter and safe haven, but at the end of the day he is still at his core. It wasn't altruistic. It was transactional.
Yeah.
Yeah, and and that's that is the that is the consistency of character that I appreciate in
Mhm.
storytelling. So because I was like, okay, Stan showing when he showed up, I was like, wow, I wasn't expecting that, but okay, what angle is he going to be playing here?
Right.
And
It's
what's his
like
whole role in all of this? Yeah,
yeah, it's like I'm not expecting that, but I'm also not expecting nor was it a different character. It's not like
right.
he went on a journey and suddenly is a different character. No, all of the conniving and the business side of him is still there. It's still
Yeah,
Stan.
yeah.
So he just has different motivations. And I think that consistency of character that you just talked about is arguably why, despite all of the shock value and all of the nonsense that goes on in both Gen V and the boys, their villains
Hmm.
consistent.
Yep.
Consistent.
Yep.
Consistent. And arguably, like, I didn't realize we also needed to know more about Cipher. And
Right.
this is arguably kind of where I have a little bit of issue with this episode. But then again, I predicted that last week because I was so in love with that episode.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
that it's we've talked enough about what's going on specifically with Cipher that it just felt like the characters needed to catch up. And I'm never a big fan of when my characters are behind from what the viewers understand is going on in the world. Now,
Hmm.
were we given definite answers? No. But then
No.
again, there was an entire scene where we literally had to watch Jordan put it together. The fact that Godalkin is the dad in
Yeah.
the chamber that Cipher
Yeah.
has. So
Yep.
I would like I was like, I didn't really need to watch that, and
Uh,
especially have it be dragged out for a minute.
yeah. I was okay with that actually. I mean, because to your point, I know I get what you're saying about the viewers are ahead of the characters, but it was a good moment. And again, talking about the how these two shows, while they're connected, they are they still have their own individual stories that they're telling.
Mhm.
And but so because we learned that Homelander and Marie are both basically products of Odessa,
Yep.
successful products of so so again it serves a story in both the boys proper and Gen V. um and and we get a little bit more details too. We're using Gen V. We learned, and they did it earlier in the season as well. Like, for example, when Cipher and Sister Say showed up, as far as
Yeah.
her angle. So these shows do work very well with each. The two of them work very well with each other to just to advance things in both their respective shows.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think what was my issue though with a lot of the answers, quote
Mhm.
unquote, if you will,
Yeah. Yeah.
because they're not really straightforward answers,
No, they weren't.
is the more and more apparent that if I'm wrong about my theory that it's really Godolphin controlling his own son.
Yeah.
I don't know what we're doing because it was
Yeah.
very apparent in this episode. Everything we learned from Stan about not really the Cipher, but specifically Godolphin
Yeah.
points to like he is a soup and that is his ability.
Yeah.
And but then again, I think the one thing that isn't clear is what we've discussed before is okay, is it that he wants his body to be healed, or is it
Hmm.
that he wants to fully take over his son's body? And
Yeah.
there is that scene in this episode when he is cleaning his father and then smacks the shit out of him and then calls him vomit and all of this stuff.
Yeah.
and it just reminded me so much of Homelander.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like when these soups um get get so tainted in ego and
Hmm.
self-loathing, like that manifests in such a volatile way
Yeah.
that it's very on brand with the characters, and also specifically the soups, like the mentality of that.
Hmm.
And you have that juxtaposed with this also quote unquote revelation that Cipher Cipher basically wants to he only wants the best of us. He's basically the
Yeah.
Hitler of the soups.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
In a way.
Well, yeah, I mean, we do learn in this episode that ultimate plan is to like kill 75% of the student population there at Godolkin.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, I mean, you're not far off with your analogy there.
Not really. I mean, he definitely wants a
Yeah.
genocide to
Yeah.
have the cream of the crop,
Yeah.
and that's why I was thinking about it, why it made sense to me, because earlier this season when we see Emma interact
Mhm.
with the students who are the Starlighters,
Yeah.
we their powers are not like all that enviable, right? And that's
Right.
why
Yeah.
Godolkin
That's it.
has this
Yeah.
this program of like rank and
Yeah.
order. It
Hmm.
totally is aligned
Totally. Yes.
with that perspective. So
Yes.
it didn't come out of left field either. It's
Nope.
like,
No, it
no,
didn't.
no,
No.
that we should have thought about, yeah, that makes sense that that would be your
Yep.
plan given everything we've been shown specifically about the school.
Yep. Yeah. That's a very good observation. That's a very good. I hadn't thought about that, but you're right. I mean, because all those kids on the arts track, basically, yeah, they're for whatever reason, where you have Emma who can't control her powers at will,
Uh-huh.
uh, to the people to the Bushmaster.
Bushmaster.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Specifically, but never gonna forget it.
yep,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
It's like
yeah,
you're special, but you're not special enough.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's such a and it's not as though we haven't seen similar characters, because as I'm talking about Cipher in that perspective, it reminds me of season 2 of The Boys with Storm. I
Oh
forgot
yeah.
her.
Oh,
Yeah,
Stormfront. Stormfront. Yeah,
Stormfront. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
who
yeah. Yeah.
who?
Which? Oh,
Oh,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say, yeah. I mean, we know she, yeah, yeah. We know about the Nazi background with her,
Hmm.
and also, even we've seen the paraphernalia, with in the past, with Godolkin and all. So yeah, so you're right. I mean, it's completely on brand. This whole eugenics, genocidal plan that he has that he has for the school.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And the last scene I want to talk about Cipher is just the Cipher and Polarity. What were your thoughts
yeah.
about that interaction?
Yeah, well, I think a couple things. One, I think it definitely confirmed that, you know, Cypher, the dad is controlling, is the funnel to, using a son to control Cipher, and also and with Polarity. I mean, I thought it was a pretty, when he showed up and he was like, look, what was it? Looks like what kind of Waffle House brawl like happened here last night? It's just like this guy. I mean, the, credit to like to Eric Kripke and the writers crew for the boys. I mean, they know how to write dialogue and cast people, because it was a well written scene, but also just the delivery by the actor who plays Cipher just delivered it perfectly. But also, just the dynamics between Cipher and utilizing Polarity to track down the kids,
Mhm.
and in the process, uncover the Starlighter cell.
Mhm.
at the school. Everything, it was definitely. I liked the scene, and I liked y- how Polarity, now that how he went from being sort of the company guy and all about Vought and the popularity and I mean, I think back as far as like in season one when he was
Mhm.
would talk about Andre with the essentially the sponsorships and all that kind of stuff, um and marketing and all that, and then how in this episode when when he gathered himself and just like he's like, I have nothing to lose now, and he just gathered it all up and just threw Cipher out of the through the window and stuff. um I just really liked that moment. I thought that was just like, okay, we the kids now do have a trusted ally that they can rely on, who's a little bit more seasoned soup, to be that mentor, whatever. The other thing too was I was just so worried that Cipher was going to like kill him at that end of that scene too. I did have
Well,
that moment
yeah,
because I was like,
that's what I was
yeah,
gonna bring up was like
yeah,
the horror of it.
yeah,
There
yeah,
the scenes when he is fully in control of his body and his mind and
hmm,
everything. Like we heard about it and we saw a glimpse with Jordan,
yeah,
but the knowing now Jordan's perspective on that incident,
hmm,
um, and then to watch it play out with Polarity just amplified
yeah,
because you're just suddenly like, "Oh, now we're getting the visual context." Yeah, that because the helplessness and yeah, Cipher did or Polarity did gather enough strength to push him out the window, but don't forget the connection broke.
yeah,
Again, very similar to what happened with Jordan. Like
yeah,
there is a weakness there,
hmm, yeah,
which of course for all of these soups, there is a flaw,
yeah,
that is often the fatal flaw, but there we don't know if it depends on the length of time, how much,
hmm,
because he was fully like just going at it and
oh
it,
yeah,
it seemed like a long duration, a lot longer than Jordan, but eventually the connection did break.
yeah,
um so yeah, I think that was interesting. To go back to the kids in the
yeah,
bunker,
yeah,
I just want to get this out of the way. Not because I don't want to talk about it, but because in terms of everybody else, it doesn't really seem that much important. But Sam, Sam, I love you, and I love you and Emma, but I and personally, I do want them to get back together, but
yeah,
I also know why they're not. I totally
yeah,
get that, but
yep,
I was just like, dude, you just had one good conversation with your mom, okay?
yeah,
And you kind of Kool-Aid it, but you're not going to immediately jump back into the bed with Emma. Um, but yeah, I liked how that conversation played out,
I did
just
too.
because there is still chemistry between them, and we know we've known that, but we also I can appreciate that we very much understand why they're not together and why he has a few more things to do before he can get back to that place with her in particular.
Yeah,
So but
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I thought, yeah, it was. I liked the way that scene played out. I mean, I know they seemed like it was like they were going to kiss, but at the same time, it was very, it was, yeah, he's got a lot to atone for before, and then also too, whenever speaking about how they were having to use the Instagram to get the
Mhm.
messages out and stuff because Emma could remember the phone number.
Yeah.
Um, but what the other thing that stuck out with me was the scene with Sam getting all like, who's the dude that
Yeah.
slid into
Right.
your
Yeah.
DMs?
Which that's been telegraphed, but
Yeah, yeah,
I the but Sam, what they continue to do with him that I like this season
Yeah.
is reminding us about his experience in season 1. Because
Yeah.
again, it's brought up. He does not like the bunker because of his
Nope.
PTSD from the woods. And
Yeah.
I thought
Yeah.
that was great because I wasn't
That was.
expecting it, but it
Yeah.
makes sense.
Makes total
And
sense.
and remember when the woods was a thing and he was
Yeah.
in there for so long. I mean, he wasn't in Elmira this past summer with everyone else, but he did go through the woods. So he
He
does
did.
understand what that's like.
Yep.
So I like that callback. This episode we get confirmation that Annabeth did get V, although she does
Mhm.
not know from where and from who, and she has very shakish precog, as Kate put it, powers, which allows her to get visions of the future, but they don't always work. They don't always come when she expects them to. And we also see her have a panic attack. And so we're finding a little bit more about we suspected, even
Yeah.
though the aunt claimed she wasn't. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It was. Yeah. I mean, whenever they revealed her to have powers, I was like, okay, yeah. I mean, it wasn't like a. Yeah. I mean, especially. I did like the way. The fact that she does have precog power. So, um, it does make you wonder. Like, in addition to one, she never was able to get an answer to the question as far as did mom and dad also inject me, or was it just some residual stuff in mom's um DNA or whatever from the injection
Mhm.
from Marie, still there, so we don't know, and so I did, it makes it all. Not only does it make sense for why she still, had one of these feelings of just resentment and anger towards Marie for what happened because they were so little and never, Marie never did get a chance to tell her about it. So she's had years to for these walls to get built up. But then also the precog power, maybe she's seen some things, glimpses of a potential future, and it's just because we don't know how the only thing we've seen of her precog powers was just the fact that she knew that Sam was about to show up and
Yeah,
told
and
everybody
which
to
way to
get
go
out of
in
the
the
way.
house.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that was only, that was a very short amount of time. We don't know if it's only a very short temporal thing, or can she see, in months or years into the future. So, I mean, there could be like a
Well,
potential thing that she sees that maybe like Marie does like link up with Edgar to take on Homelander or whatever. Who knows?
right, right. My theory out of this revelation in this episode is Marie leaves the bunker at the
Yeah,
end of the episode. But yes, we will talk about Kate just a second though.
yeah, yeah,
My theory is she leaves because of Annabeth, and Marie thinks the only person who can help her is Cipher. And by help her, I mean he's told her, and she literally brings Annabeth back to life.
yeah,
So, and we know that like it's all about the genes and it's all about blood. So,
yep,
is there a way for her to use her abilities to essentially take out that Gen V from her sister so her sister does not have to be a soup?
yeah.
That's
I think
the
that's a good
only
theory.
way she can fix it, right? That's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
only that's what her sister says, and explains is like, "You can't help me." And so she does what a naturally a big sister who feels like she owes a debt to her younger sister will do.
yeah, 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 yeah,
So that's my theory about why she leaves. And great song choice, by the
yeah,
way, with the ending. I for some reason I haven't heard that song in a while, but it just fit really well with the mood and the whole aesthetic. And then to also have then a conversation with Marie and Kate.
yeah,
I I want to preface this though. Uh Kate and Emma had arguably my favorite line in this episode.
Oh yeah.
When Emma's like, "Say something nice about me," and
Yep.
Kate's reaction. So many levels there
Yep.
about, and very simple. It's like what?
Yep.
Like, what?
Yes.
Why? And also I need some help with that. I just,
Yep.
that whole thing. Um,
Yeah.
I love Kate. I really do,
Mhm.
because she just continues to be very fascinating, and I say that every single week,
Yeah.
because there is she's walking a line that I've seen no other character in this universe walk. And
Yeah.
it is that line of, she could be as bad, and we've seen her be as bad as the worst of them.
Yeah.
But she is so broken
She is.
that so I have so much empathy. And even last season, when she chose that path, I was like, "Oh, I hate it, but I
Yeah.
also understand why you did. I get
Yeah.
it, but I hate the choice." So I can appreciate that about her, and also appreciate that about Sam.
Yeah.
Um, and I think she's smart. I like characters
Mhm.
who are smart, because she is very much in the background, observing everything, listening, and she puts it together. She's like, "Bree, if you help me to
Yep.
fix me, we can take on Cipher."
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Kate, one small thing, Maria don't trust you, okay?
Yep.
So I don't, I think it's gonna take a lot more, but I just, there's something about that image of
Yeah.
them, of Marie leaving, and that long road and the big gate, and then
Yeah.
Kate following at a
That
distance. There was just, it's so poetic.
it was. That was a I love the way that scene was shot. It definitely was very poetic, like you said. Um and I agree. I mean, I think whether Kate following along, like you said, to was it altruistic or was it, transactional again? Again,
Mhm.
we go back to that theme with these characters in the boys and universe. With it, sh- one way or another, um, Marie's gonna probably have to help her get her powers back in order for Marie to do whatever she wants, to serve the larger story, whatever that is. I mean, at this point, I think you're right with your theory about Marie going back to Cipher to basically, find a way to take the V out of
Mhm.
Annabeth. Um, and then of course Cipher will gladly do so, but again, he will probably want something in return, and that is
Oh, she's not
like
gonna
what?
tell him. She's
No,
like,
no, no,
"Oh."
no.
Yeah, yeah. She's gonna try to get training,
Yeah,
so that he can build her up, but that's her end goal for
yeah,
whatever,
but
yeah, but I think you're right. Like, Kate is the what's been set up now as how they get out of this situation is,
yeah,
the you gotta first fix Kate.
right,
Arguably, Kate can't really be broken in season 3. So
right,
Kate needs to be fixed by the end of this season, um,
yeah,
to
yeah.
open up potential of, like, okay, now that you're fixed, whose side are you really on?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm trying to put myself back in like in my early late teens, early 20s, as far as my prefrontal cortex is not fully developed, and I
Mhm.
even though here at my age now, I don't know if it is, but um, like they're only looking at what's in front of them. So I'm just trying to figure out. And yeah, so I think you're right. She won't tell him what the purpose is. Cipher may
Right.
deduce it. He may deduce it from the actions and stuff, especially now that she's broken him out,
Mhm.
broken
Yeah,
Annabeth out.
yeah,
Um,
that's
you
fair.
know, so, um, but yeah, it's just, these next two episodes are just, I mean, I can't wait to watch episode 7 later, uh, this week. And, and see where things go. And our theories may be completely blown up by the time I watch it, but at the same time, I at the end of the day, she's going to go back to Cipher. I can't see her doing anything else.
Right.
Because I can't see her. I mean, it doesn't make sense for her to go to Starlight.
Well, I see when I was like, oh, Starlight might come. I don't know. We got 2 episodes.
Yeah,
2 episodes. So I
yeah,
don't know. I eventually Marie and Cipher are going to be back
yeah,
in the same room. And I don't know if that immediately happens or if it takes a while
yeah,
to get
yeah,
there. So
yeah.
we have some time.
We
I
do.
don't. Yeah. Yeah, and I don't want to speculate too much because I've already done way too much theory spiraling about this show. But I guess the one thing that's in the back of my mind is contemplation. Can I continue with Cipher through season 3, or is he a bad guy who's like one season and done? Which the
Yeah,
boys universe is known for, like
yeah,
having bad guy one season done. But it all depends. I
yeah.
do think we need more definite answers about him and Godolkin by the end of this, or what was it all for?
Right.
So
Well,
yeah.
yeah. Well, I have a feeling that Cypher is going to make it through this season in some form or fashion. But whether like it's our theory where the dad does manage to fuse himself into his son's body, or 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 something, stabilize that connection. Because I just think with Edgar showing up, to reestablish himself, which Stan's going to make it to the end of this thing. So, uh, and and I think Sage will need Cipher to help her, take over Vought. Um, so I think that storyline is going to sort of it's getting hatched here, but we'll see it carried forward in The Boys season 5. So I think we'll see Cipher show up in The Boys season 5. I might be
Okay.
wrong, but I think he's going to make it out of this season to play a role. He may
The
not make it through season 5 of The Boys, but I think he's going to show up at least in season 5 of The Boys.
the only thing that I disagree about with
Yeah,
those hypotheticals is Sister Sage doesn't need him to control Vought.
true.
She's already in control. She needs him to control Homelander.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Vought needs Godolkin to control the soups.
true.
So there's
Yeah,
a whole other conversation. But yeah, a more interesting thing to do though would be actually for Godolkin to die at the end of the
mm,
season, and for then us to be still have Cipher, yet
yeah,
it's actually Cipher, if you know what I
yeah.
mean.
I got.
And
Yeah,
and
that's
having that whole situation, because again, how long has Godolkin been in control of him? And what
true.
does that mean?
Yeah,
So,
that's a good point. That's a good point.
well, on that note, Will, why don't you tell our listeners where they can find you?
Yes, you can find me on all the socials at Will M Polk, WILLMPOLK.
And you can find me there too at SJ Belmont, SJBLMONT. Please follow our crew on Twitter at Scene and Nerd on Blue Sky. Friend us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram and Threads at Scene_N_Nerd. And visit our website, www.sceneandnerdpodcast.com. But most importantly, rate, follow, and comment on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get podcasts. Good night, Geek Out. You're welcome.